Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Bex here today to talk about some books that I have acquired over the past few months. I think I'm going to refer to this as my end of winter book haul, which may be a bit too optimistic considering it is mid-March in Ontario, Canada, but we're just trying to get those positive vibes out there. I have 10 books to talk about today, so let's get started. The first set of 3 are books I actually received for Christmas, and since I haven't done a book haul since fall of 2020, these haven't been talked about yet. The first one of them is 21 Things You May Not Know About the Indian Act, Helping Canadians Make Reconciliation with Indigenous Peoples a Reality by Bob Joseph. This is a book that I have seen on BookTube a lot, particularly with Canadian booktubers. As someone who did not come to Canada until I went off to university, I don't know how much I would have covered had I gone to school here, but now that I am here and what I studied in university did not touch on this at all, I have been learning things over the years, and I feel like this will help give me a foundation that maybe I would have gotten in school. Not saying I would have, just saying that this will give me a lot more of the history that I am lacking. And it's not very long either. This is definitely a book I could just sit down and really read in a day if I wanted. I imagine the topic will be quite heavy, so it might not be a one-day kind of book, but definitely something I feel that I should be reading now that I live in Canada. The next book is one that Les got me, and it is Campfire Stories, Tales from America's National Parks, edited by Dave and Alyssa Q. This is a really cute naked hardback. The texture of the hardback plus the illustrations on it make it look like it's painted on. It continues onto the back as well, and then you can see the spine there. This is a collection of poems, myths, legends, personal essays, and it's focused on sort of the 6, you could argue, the most iconic national parks in the US. Side note, and papers looking cute. And they are Acadia, Great Smoky Mountains, Rocky Mountain, Zion, Yosemite, and Yellowstone. I am a big lover of the national parks, and Les knows that. That's why she got me this book. It seems like this is going to have a good balance of more modern stories, but then also tales from like the Native American people that have lived there for thousands of years. The final Christmas gift was Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. This is a nonfiction book that has been popular both on and off BookTube, and it takes a look at America, how America has been shaped in the past and is currently being influenced by a hidden caste system, something I'm very interested in reading about. This is on the BookTube prize shortlist, so it's possible I will have to read this at some point this year, which I hope is the case. I would like it for it to be chosen at a point where I need to read it, but in the meantime, I'll just hold on to it and hope that it shows up for that. Speaking of the BookTube prize, I had to purchase 2 of the books that are in my group for the Octafinals. The library did have copies, but the whole list is just too long and I won't get them in time. So the first book that I got was Intimations by Zadie Smith. This is a very tiny little book. I've actually already read it. This is a collection of personal essays from the first few months of lockdown. I would say written from the beginning of March 2020 until the end of May 2020. And it's just a snippet in time, an example of what Zadie Smith was thinking about in that moment. And I will admit that I spent a couple extra dollars to get this edition because I really like the way it looks. I love that bright yellow spine. And I did notice at the very end it said that all the author's royalties will go to charity, and this particular edition benefits the Equal Justice Initiative and the COVID-19 Emergency Relief Fund for New York. So I really am happy that I grabbed this edition. The other book that I needed to buy was Just Us, An American Conversation by Claudia Rankine. This one cost me a pretty penny because it is printed on really nice printer paper, because you can see there's pictures and graphics and stuff in here. So it's actually quite heavy as well. And this one is basically a conversation about whiteness in America. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to be structured because I haven't read this one yet. I'm gonna start it today actually. And it seems like there's going to be white people talking or sharing a story or thoughts, experiences, and then Claudia is going to be responding to it with graphs and tidbits and whatnot. That seems like what this is going to be about. But yeah, an American conversation about whiteness and racism, so it'll probably be pretty intense. The next book is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. You may have seen this pop up in my recent video that I just did about books I want to reread. I finally purchased a nice copy, a nice edition of this book because I do really want to reread it. It's been 11 years or so since I read it for school, and it was one of my favorite books that I was ever told to read. And so I want to see if that is still the case now, if it still holds up. And I'm at that point in my life where I was like, yeah, I want a pretty edition of this book. I don't want one of those really cheap, ugly versions that you can get. I want the Penguin English Library edition because I have seen them and they're gorgeous. And this is the first one that I have ever owned, and I'm really happy I bought it. It looks so nice. So I'm looking forward to reading this one this year, hopefully pretty soon. I also got Disability Visibility, First-Person Stories from the 21st Century, edited by Alice Wong. This is an anthology of contemporary personal essays from disabled people. Definitely seen it popping up on BookTube, and I have been interested in reading it since it was published. Having been on BookTube now for over 9 years, I think it's been interesting to see how things have changed over that time. I feel like a number of years ago, people really started to bring a lot of recognition to LGBTQ+ stories, sharing own voices books, and really just giving a lot of love and promotion to those types of stories. And I feel like within the last year or so, the stories of disabled people have really been kind of starting to get that momentum that the LGBTQ+ stories did back in the day and still have now. And so I'm really happy that that is happening because I think it's bringing to light a lot of things that other people could just easily ignore. I mean, it says right on the back of this book that 1 in 5 people in the United States lives with a disability. So I do think it is important and a good thing that stories from disabled people are really being shared so much right now. The final group of books is 3 books that I got from thrift stores. I took a bag of stuff to Goodwill, and of course I had to go inside to see what books they had available. And the first one that I spotted was a Royal Diaries book. This is Elizabeth I, Red Rose of the House of Tudor. This will look familiar to a lot of you, I'm sure, from your childhood, maybe like middle grade, 11, 12 age group. I talked about this in a video where I was reflecting on some childhood reads, and I talked about how this book in particular, the Elizabeth I book, was the one that I remembered the most. I think this was the first one I read, the one that really got me into reading that Royal Diaries / Dear America series. And so to see this there in really good condition, like if you look in a certain light, you can see the cover is kind of like scratched up, but it's in great condition considering it was at Goodwill. We've got the nice gold pages, the end papers. So yeah, I had to get this. It's super easy. It's diary entries written like if Elizabeth I were keeping a diary in her like early teen years, I believe. It starts in England in 1544, and then at the end there's always a little bit of actual like not photographs, but like photographs of paintings and some information. Historical notes, so you can get more of that historical context. This would just be like a book that I could read in the afternoon when I'm in the right mood, but I was just so excited to see this that I had to grab it. The other 2 books that I got are both thrillers. I grabbed The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. I have never read a Ruth Ware book, but she comes up all the time and I feel like I should just give it a shot. And this one was there, so I figured I'd pick it up. This one, you've probably heard the synopsis for this a million times, but if you haven't, it's about a woman who receives a letter saying that she is entitled to this big inheritance. The woman's like, I'm definitely not related to this person who just died, but she's suffering from crippling debt, and so she decides to go and pretend that she is and sort of see what happens. And of course, you know, things get a little freaky because it's a thriller, so it does not go as planned. The final book that I picked up is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. I was really happy to see this in there because it's a new release. It was released in 2020, and this is another one that has definitely been making the rounds. It is about a woman who was born and raised in Brooklyn, and she has been seeing the effects of gentrification over the years, people being forced out, lots of homes up for sale, and she starts looking into this with a new friend, somebody who's recently moved to her neighborhood in Brooklyn, and they start to uncover some things. It seems like maybe it's not just people are moving to the suburbs. It seems like it might be a little bit more sinister than that. Those are the 10 books that I've picked up over the past 3 months or so. If you have read any of them and you want to share some thoughts on them, feel free to let me know in the comments below. As always, all of our links are in the down bar. You can go check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.